Hey all, we're going to be doing some maintenance work on the van. It's been running a little bit rich and it's already got a tune-up not that long ago, so what I'm going to do is replace some of the common culprits in these throttle body engines for them not running properly. One is the oxygen sensor. This van doesn't have a cat in it. The cat was stolen while it was still with the previous owner and I haven't replaced it. So the exhaust is always going to be a little rich just because the cat's not there. But I'm going to change the oxygen sensor because I don't know if it's working properly. That'll affect how the engine runs. I'm going to replace, there's two temp sensors. One is for the gauge, one is for the engine computer. I'm going to replace the one for the engine computer because if it doesn't realize the engine's properly up to temperature, or if it's getting a weird reading or whatever, that can cause the engine to run too rich because it thinks it still needs to be in rich mode for a cold engine. And I'm going to change the PCV valve, which, if it's stuck, can allow oil into the intake, which can just cause the engine to look like it's running rich or run weird or whatever. It's probably not that, but since I'm in there anyway. All three of these are actually easy to go in through the doghouse, so I'm going to be working from the inside of the van, which is at least nice and a little bit warmer than being out here in the wind. And then engine. The PCV valve is just in the head over here. The temp sensor is at the front of the engine, just behind the thermostat housing, and then the oxygen sensor I'm going to do from under the van because it's a little further down. So yeah. All right, now comes a silly attempt at something. My partner's out there with the shop vac and has got it in the opening of the radiator to try and pull a vacuum on the system, because in theory that will keep all the water from gushing out when I pull this sensor out. So once she's all set up, I need to loosen the sensor, unscrew it, jam this one in and tighten it back up again, hopefully without losing all of the coolant all over the engine. All right, go ahead whenever you're ready. Alright, so that worked shockingly well. The sensor, I don't know how much this is going to be visible, but the new sensor's in there, and it's like barely damp, if anything. So, yeah, got the old one out. The old one was covered in a bit of rust scale. Yeah. If my long-term plans involve this engine, I probably would do a full flush of the cooling system. I did a quick and half-ass one when I replaced the water pump, but I'd probably do a proper flush, but I don't care enough because this 4.3 is only here until I find a good donor engine to replace it with, because I could not so much more power, a little bit more power, but I want something a little more modern, and yeah. So that's in, the PCV valve's in, so I can reassemble the top of the engine now. I'm going to go underneath and do that oxygen sensor. All right, and here we are under the van. This pipe right here is where the catalytic converter should be. But this is the oxygen sensor. There's a little clip up here that I have no idea how it comes off. Okay, that's the connector. Now I have to get this off of the thingy that's holding it onto the body of the van, and I don't know how to fuck that up. There we go, it just pops off. And then other parts of the van are trying to eat my shirt. And then this is a 7/8, and I've generally found with oxygen sensors it's all or nothing. They either pop off fairly easily, or you're in for a massive fight with various breaker bars and whatnot. So Let's hope for the best on this one. Oh God, I can hear the pipes creaking. Oh, that's not encouraging. I'm gonna get another wrench, other toys. All right, first thing I'm gonna do is cut the wires off so I can use the box end of the wrench because the connector is a little too big. This makes it less likely that I'll strip the damn thing. And then also gives me more options for placement. There's an old trick with wrenches. If you can get the box end on, take the box end of another wrench, hook it over the tine of the first wrench in the direction you want it to go, and now you've made yourself a doubly long lever. Here it's hitting the tire, so it's not quite perfect, but and I'm slowly rounding that off. But this is an AC Delco oxygen sensor, which gives good odds that this is the original one to the van. And I can't tell if I'm rotating it or just have rounded the base off. No, we got rotation. All right. Apparently going to fight me to the last. It's not covered in oil, which is my big fear, but if that is the original, there's no way. I mean, it may not be bad, but there's no way it's giving a optimal reading. So the new one, big thing with oxygen sensors is you don't want to touch this top bit at all, and you want to have anti-seize on the threads. Fortunately, most of the new ones seem to come with anti-seize already on in this little cap. So you got to do is pop the cap off and pop it in, and you're all set without having to risk smearing anti-seize on the next ring hole. And there we go. That's it for the oxygen sensor. So hopefully that'll make the van run a little better. And welcome to a couple weeks later. I actually filmed the rest of this video the day before I did the AC rebuild on the van. I wasn't sure if I was going to release it or not, but I've been driving the van since, and before I did that work, I was always getting 14 point something miles per gallon. It would vary, but it would always be 14 point something. Pretty consistently, almost universally, no matter what I was driving, what I was hauling, where I was going, whatever. Since I did all that work, the temp sensor, the PCV valve, and the oxygen sensor, I have been getting consistently 16 point something to 17 point something miles per gallon, and that's with the AC on fairly regularly. So before, no AC. Now, even with AC, significant 2 to 3 mile per gallon improvement, which when you're talking 14 miles per gallon, that's a nice jump. So very happy with that work. Well recommended if you haven't had that, replace those parts on your TBI motor in the recent past. So yeah, talk to you all later. Bye.